We have a mantra at Wpromote, which is always test everything. And it really just boils down to the fact that we don't know what always works the best. We don't know what color button, what look of a website is going to work for, is going to be the most effective. And with the amount of money that we're spending on marketing and advertising, you just always have to test everything. And with the medium of online marketing, you really have the ability to, in a very short time frame, really test and iterate. So we're going to talk about things that you should test. And then specifically, these are based on really landing page testing. So the areas that you're going to want to test are the headline. That is really the first place where your eyes are drawn when you arrive at a site. The hero image, or the main image here, you can see in this mock-up, it really is that image below the headline. You have a sub-headline most likely. You have things like forms, and then the button that is the real conversion action, the add to cart, the submit, the learn more, the continue button. Both the color, the aesthetics, and the actual text in the button are all really important to test. So we're going to go through some actual real-life versions here, and I'm going to kind of walk through the hypothesis by why each of these could be better than the other. When we do this live, we find that there's almost a 50-50 split a lot of times between people who think that version 1 is going to do better and version 2 through the handful of examples that we're going through. And what the important thing, the takeaway there is you're just not going to guess it right, and that you ultimately have to drive to test. But these are some fun examples that we're going to walk through. So here you're going to see two versions of this page. We have where the only real testing element is the tagline. So in version 1 here we have life is short, just drive. And in version 2 here we have Drive 5 Supercars, the U.S. Supercar Tour. So if you look back at this, you're looking at two versions that both, again, aesthetically identical. And we know here that there's going to be a 34% improvement of one of them. And, you have the hypothesis on version 1 is it's short, it's witty, it kind of has that marketing zing to it. Version 2, it's a little bit longer, but it also gives a little bit more detail. They're both valid hypotheses, and it actually turns out when you look at the results that the second one, that's not that short, quippy marketing one, only changing that has a 34% improvement. And so when you think about that, if you're spending $10,000 a month driving advertising to the site, having 34% improvement is like you're getting another $3,400 worth of value without spending another dime. So this is really, really important. Let's go through another one here. We have games for language here. The color and text of the submit button is really what the testing is. So on version 1, we have play right now. That makes sense. Version 2, you have instant demo. I think there's logic on both of those. Play right now is a little bit more aggressive of a call to action. Demo is a little bit weird to me personally because it feels like I don't even understand that I need to have a demo. Yeah, but again, we know that one of these is going to have an 83% improvement on people taking the next step. And in this example, it again is instant demo. It's the example on the right. So again, had they not run this test, had somebody just gone for play right now, and they were spending that $10,000 driving advertising to this page, the better version is like getting another $8,300 of advertising without spending a dime. Let's walk through another one. This is actually probably my favorite one because it's really not obvious to me which one is better. And the improvement is literally above double. So that's a really, really powerful takeaway. In version 1, we basically have the only thing here that's changing again is this thumbnail image, is this little piece of clip art. One, you have a lock that would sort of allude to the safety and security. The second one, you have a globe, which would allude to the world class or the kind of World Wide Web. They both seem very legitimate to me. And the winner here with a 200% improvement is the lock. So, again, the takeaway here, had you had a web designer put this page together and he just happened to not think to put clip art of a padlock and happened to throw in the other one, you're literally going to get half the results that you would on the other side. So, again, the power here of testing is dramatic, and the takeaway is just assume you don't know, and that's a little bit of a daunting, challenging thing to take, to accept, but that really is what you have to do. Sort of assume that you don't know the answer and test. Again, we're going to look at an example here. We have a 30% improvement on one of these. The only difference here is the subheadline. One is pay as you go, 30-day free trial. The other is sign up takes less than 60 seconds. So one plays up here that you have a 30-day free trial, and the other plays up that the sign up is really quick. This is one of those things of, do people like it because it's fast acting or long lasting? In this case, they're both very valid sub headlines, and a 30% improvement is dramatic. And the answer here is the speed. Sign up takes less than 60 seconds. There'd be nothing really to indicate this would be the case, but it was. And again, the takeaway is always test. So this is a great one because I think a lot of people with e-commerce stores probably suffer from this. So this is the Corkscrew Wine Merchants. One of these is going to have 131% improvement. You can see the one on the left has a more complex form, but it's combining different steps. The one on the right is dividing this into a series of steps. You can see how many steps there are, but it makes each one bite-sized. The other difference is that one is going to have you decide whether or not you want to check out as a guest or log in, and the other one just jumps you right in. It's just sort of that single point of purchase. And maybe not surprisingly, the answer here is dramatically improved to have the simple, don't make them look for a login, don't make them make an extra selection, and give everything in one simple screen. And you're looking at 131% improvement. And the important thing to remember here is these are people that have already put something in a cart and moved and proceeded to the checkout page. And you're going to look at 131% improvement just by selecting having the same information, but you're accepting that in a different way. So you can apply that to the amount of purchases that they would make in a month. You have a dramatic change to their business by having this very minor adjustment to the way that they're collecting information. Okay, so this is just kind of a speaking of forms aside. This is actually a screenshot from the Wpromote site that we recently launched. And one of the big debates, if your goal on your website is lead generation, is people filling out a form. One of the big challenges is, how many fields of information that do you ask for? So the trade-off, obviously, is the more fields of information you ask for, the more qualified the lead becomes, the better you're going to be able to process that lead and take it to the next step. And to a certain extent, people expect to be asked certain questions. Then it feels a little spammy if you don't ask enough. On the flip side, the more you ask, the harder it is to complete the action, and you're going to see a drop off. So what we did is we sort of what we came across with is really find a happy medium. So we really have a two-step form, but you don't know that it's a two-step form when you hit there. So you have this light box, this floating form that you can hit from any page on the site, and this asks for the bare minimum: name, email, phone, and company. We really need those things to just consider it a lead, so I'm fine requiring these. After you hit that continue button, it's going to take you to ask you a little bit more. And here's where we get the website, the services that they're interested in, their budget, campaign goals, and where they found us. So the key here is that if they abandon this step, we have already received step one of the form. So we're both giving the opportunity to accept more information, but we're not sacrificing the people that maybe felt a little overwhelmed. I mean, it's a pretty simple form, but that maybe people felt a little overwhelmed. So hopefully what we're doing here is having our cake and eating it too, getting the most number of leads and also giving the opportunity for those to be more qualified than less. So and I think you can imagine on a more complex form where you're asking significantly more information, it could be dramatically make a dramatic difference, and you're not going to sacrifice the lead quantity, and you're going to still get the quality for the people that volunteer it. Interestingly, when we launched this, we found that about 95% of people do fill out step two, even though it's optional. Okay. Tools that we use, by the way, to do some of this testing. Optimizely is a great tool that we really like. It's very sort of a WYSIWYG version where you can kind of make changes on the fly without technical know-how. Google's website optimizer is free, which is always great and gives you a lot of power. And then more on sort of the industrial strength version, you have Adobe's Test and Target, which is a very powerful solution, and it does it gives a lot of functionality to do the testing we've described, but it also gives you the ability to take it a lot farther.